Your salary is not making you rich. Your ego is making you poor. The biggest financial advantage you have is not your income, your degree, or your investment strategy. It is how much of your life you refuse to sell. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to completely reframe how you think about wealth, control, and the actual literal cost of your ego. Drawing on the brilliant psychological insights of Morganhousel, we're going to see exactly why saving money is absolutely not about being cheap or living a life of boring sacrifice. Actually, it is one of the most powerful forms of control in modern life. Let's get into it.
This quote right here, this completely shatters conventional financial advice. We're constantly conditioned to believe that the path to financial independence is purely about playing offense, right? It's about getting that next promotion, starting a massive company, or finding the absolute perfect investment strategy. But this perspective argues that defense, what you actively refuse to give up, is actually your ultimate superpower.
And that brings up a really fascinating question. Why is it that incredibly smart people stay poor? Or, to put it another way, why do we constantly see high-income earners, surgeons, corporate lawyers, tech executives living paycheck to paycheck, absolutely paralyzed by financial stress? The math doesn't seem to make any sense. I mean, if you're pulling in $500,000 a year, you should be wealthy, right? But as we'll see throughout this explainer, financial success is not a hard science, it's a soft skill. It is entirely behavioral.
Section 1. The Ego Wealth Trap. Let's look at the illusion of income versus actual wealth. Imagine two completely different realities. On one side, you have the high-income earner. Sure, they have cash flowing in, but they are drowning in lifestyle inflation. They've got the massive mortgage, the absurd luxury car lease, and this crushing, unspoken social pressure to constantly perform their success for other people. Because of all this, they have zero flexibility. They are trapped by their own lifestyle. Now look at the other side. You have someone with a modest income. But this person maintains a high savings rate, they feel zero social pressure to prove anything to strangers, and because of that, they possess complete control over their time. Between the two, the modest earner is the one who is actually free.
Section 2. The Efficiency Advantage. To truly understand why we vastly underestimate the power of saving, we actually need to look back at history. Back in the 1970s, the global energy crisis hit, and it hit hard. The world legitimately looked like it was running out of oil. The global economy was expanding, and drilling simply couldn't keep up with demand. The panic was very real. But here's the fascinating part. We didn't survive that crisis by miraculously finding a ton more oil or by getting immensely better at pulling it out of the ground. We survived by building cars, factories, and homes that were significantly more energy efficient. Since 1975, the average miles per gallon of all vehicles on the road has essentially doubled. We grew our energy wealth not by increasing the energy we had, but by radically decreasing the energy we needed.
So, the crucial point here is the concept of control. Finding more energy? That is largely out of our control. It relies on a slippery mix of geology, weather patterns, and highly complex geopolitics. It is shrouded in massive uncertainty. But becoming more efficient with the energy we already use, that is completely in our control. The decision to buy a lighter car or simply ride a bike is entirely up to you. It has a 100% chance of improving your efficiency.
Now apply this analogy perfectly onto personal finance. Investing your money, chasing massive market returns is exactly like drilling for new oil. It can definitely make you rich, but it is deeply uncertain. Market crashes, economic shifts, global pandemics, these are completely out of your hands. But your personal savings rate, your financial efficiency, that is a lever you can pull that is 100% within your control with zero uncertainty. It delivers a guaranteed, immediate impact on your bottom line.
Section 3. Ego versus income.
We have to shift away from the cold, hard math for a second and look at the deep psychology of human behavior. And to do that, we have to completely redefine what wealth actually is. Wealth isn't the roaring Ferrari in the driveway. It isn't the massive mansion or the luxury watch you flex on Instagram. Those are just indicators that someone spent money. True wealth is the accumulated leftovers after you spend what you take in. Wealth is the unbought Ferrari. It is the unpurchased watch. Wealth is exactly what you do not see.
And that leads to this incredibly empowering truth. The only factor you can actually control generates one of the only things that truly matters. You do not need a massive top 1% income to build wealth, but you have an absolute zero chance of building wealth without a high savings rate.
This brings us to the most psychologically sharp realization from our source material. Savings is the gap between your ego and your income. Let's be real. Once your basic needs are met, food, shelter, a solid baseline of comfort, almost all lifestyle inflation is driven by ego. It's driven by this deep-seated, very human desire to show other people that you have money, to fan out the peacock feathers, so to speak. But when you realize that spending money to show people how much money you have is quite literally the fastest way to have less money, your entire worldview shifts. So if you actually want to build enduring wealth, you don't necessarily need to grind 80 hours a week to bump up your income. Instead, you need to follow this psychological chain. Step 1, you have to raise your humility and simply care less about what others think of you. When you genuinely care less about their opinions, step 2 naturally happens. You desire less. When you desire less, step 3, you naturally spend less. And that inevitably leads to step 4, creating massive savings. The people with the most enduring financial success often have a profound, almost stubborn propensity to just not care what other people think about them.
Section 4. Saving without a goal.
Okay, this brings us to a radical idea that completely breaks standard financial advice. If you ask almost anyone, hey, what are you saving for? They will give you a highly specific answer. They're saving for a down payment on a house, a new car, a vacation to Europe, or for retirement at age 65. We are strictly taught that saving has to be attached to a specific, tangible goal. But what if the best answer is nothing? What if you were saving for absolutely nothing in particular? According to the psychology of money, this is actually the most rational approach you can take. Saving only for a specific goal makes total sense in a perfectly predictable world. But let's be honest with ourselves, our world is anything but predictable.
Saving without a specific goal is brilliant because it acts as a guaranteed hedge against life's inevitable chaos. Life is just a continuous chain of surprises. You might face sudden career burnout and desperately need to quit your toxic job. You might face an unexpected medical emergency. Or, on a totally positive note, you might stumble upon a brilliant entrepreneurial opportunity or see a massive dip in the market, and you need liquid cash to pounce on it right then and there. Savings that aren't earmarked for anything in particular are your shield against a world whose default state is unpredictability.
Section 5. Buying back your time.
And that leads us to the ultimate payoff. This is where saving transforms from a boring, tedious chore into a cinematic superpower. Saving money is not about being cheap. It is not about punishing yourself for stripping all the joy out of your daily life. Saving money is literally the act of buying back control. It buys flexibility. But most importantly, it buys you freedom from the future. It means you are not bound to the dictates of a boss you hate or an economy that is suddenly crashing.
I absolutely love this concept. Every bit of savings is like taking a point in the future that would have been owned by someone else and giving it back to yourself. Just think about that for a second. Cash in the bank means you aren't forced to take a terrible job just to make rent next month. It means you aren't forced to sell off your investments at the absolute bottom of a market crash just to survive. It means you own your tomorrow, rather than your creditors owning it.
We live in a hyper-competitive world where sheer intelligence is no longer a sustainable advantage. There will literally always be someone smarter than you or someone willing to work longer hours than you. The ultimate currency today is flexibility, the ability to wait, the ability to think, the ability to choose meaningful work over higher pay simply because you can afford to do so. That level of flexibility is generated entirely by the gap between your ego and your income.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to take away from our explainer today. Really look at your bank account, look at your daily habits, and ask yourself honestly, are you saving just to buy things and impress strangers today? Or are you saving to buy your freedom from the future? Stop treating saving like it's a sacrifice. Start treating it like the ultimate form of power. Thanks for joining us for this explainer. Until next time, keep your ego low and your options open.